Will we ever see you again?
Close your eyes. Now look at me. But keep them closed. But look at me. I'm with you, but I'm gone. I'm here, but I'm gone. I left, but I stayed.
If you're a fan of animation and science fiction, I urge you to go ahead and check out the pilot episode for Godspeed, created by Olan Rogers. The Godspeed pilot was uploaded to YouTube on December 15th, 2023, and in my opinion, is a work of art. It's the result of a project that was crowdfunded via Kickstarter, and oh boy, does this project over-deliver. With this being a passion project, it really does show. The art style, the world building, the new characters to appreciate, the voice acting, particularly by Bryce Charles, who voices the main character in this, and the potential for more going forward. If you're a fan of Olan's other show called Final Space, you're going to want to see this. And in this video, we'll be discussing the pilot episode in full for what will hopefully be a Godspeed series in the near future, and if you've already seen it, please let me know how you felt about it in the comments down below. I would love to hear people's immediate reactions to this pilot. The influence this has over the animation industry, in my eyes, is going to be huge. With it relating so closely to Final Space, Warner Bros. Obviously owns Final Space as an intellectual property, but that doesn't mean the rules cannot be bent in our favour to receive more of that beloved TV show just in a different way. And for those that are unfamiliar, Olan Rogers is an American comedian and animation filmmaker. He is honestly one of the most positive and heartwarming human beings in Hollywood right now. His influence is a huge motivator for making the impossible seem possible, and his enthusiasm for creating animated projects is very infectious. He's even inspired me to pursue stories of my own, which I may even share on the channel one day. And his show Final Space, it ran for only 3 seasons on TBS, and was cancelled during the Warner Bros. Discovery merger. It was then written off for tax-related purposes and is no longer available to stream legally anywhere, and the last available place to watch the series was Netflix, where the international license expired, ironically on the 15th of December, and this may seem like the end for Final Space, but on the same day, Godspeed premiered on YouTube, a rebirth of sorts. Plus, we have the Final Space graphic novel to look forward to, which Olan is actively working on, and will provide a conclusive end for this original series. Godspeed is an independent short where the original Kickstarter goal was $80,000, and this was reached within a few days. And to show just how passionate Final Space fans are about Olan's work, the total funds by the end amounted to over $450,000. And it's insane to see people vote with their wallet, showing what kind of content they do want to see. And I would like to think of this entire scenario as a creative middle finger to Warner. The fans who lost out on Final Space due to the cancellation just show how much they care about the series and ultimately win by receiving more of the content they love, just in a slightly different way. And Godspeed itself surpassed my expectations. It's a very unique story, which does tie itself to Final Space, but there's definitely more to this. After all, it's an open pilot episode that is literally asking the viewer if they would like to see more. And speaking of which, there is already a fully funded Kickstarter project for those who do want to see more, and you can still donate to this if you are interested, and obviously if the funds do surpass the expected amount, similarly to what we had with the first part, that means that there'll be more room to spread around the budget for more content. Story-wise, we are introduced to the main character Iris, who is escaping a world-ending atmospheric disaster. Mankind is ready to abandon planet Earth, boarding spaceships to exit the planet, but Iris can't bring herself to leave, and despite having a ticket to board a ship and get out of there, and her Uncle Ryan telling her what to do via an earpiece, she selflessly gives up her ticket to a little boy. And without the need of dialogue, there is so much emotion conveyed in just this one opening scene, showing the strengths behind the animation style itself. Even though Iris chooses to stay behind, I really appreciate this theme of humanity turning on itself. People are left behind, which isn't fully explored, but I'd like to see more of this in future episodes where possible. And you could also interpret this as maybe even a class struggle where the rich and powerful escape the planet, but everybody else is just left behind, and there is a lot to appreciate from this apocalyptic theme and how this influences the story without lingering on it too much. And looking up at the sky, Iris sees a burning star hovering in the planet's atmosphere, and it's very reminiscent of the floating Doom Star from Metalocalypse in my eyes, and it looks to be a natural phenomenon that nobody can really do anything about. The world is on a path of destruction that cannot be avoided, and so the wealthy ran away, leaving everybody else behind. And when it's revealed that Iris helped a little boy escape the planet, this scene cemented feelings of loneliness and abandonment. Uncle Ryan keeps sending voice messages saying that he'll find a way to come back and rescue Iris, but it's too late. Part of humanity is left behind, and only those who are lucky get to live in peace off-world, and these visuals combined with the chilling soundtrack, this completely hooked me for wanting to see more of Godspeed. And with the world building established, there's a 2-year time jump where Ryan is still trying to successfully contact Iris, and I wish we'd seen more of his character, but there's something really chilling about how mysterious he appears. He clearly cares about his niece, but I'd like to think there's something maybe holding him back from simply just swooping down and rescuing her. As part of the time jump, we see the world in ruins thanks to the atmospheric disturbances and frequent sandstorms. And this is where the robot character Bowie is introduced, given a typical sort of overly cutesified model who comes in handy as a sidekick, and he's essentially just the comic relief, but is a very needy character, and as a robot requires charging to keep him powered, and this also gives purpose to the story where the pair find an abandoned house to gather supplies. And whilst Bowie charges, he also downloads some available upgrades and messages from a nearby signal, leading to a very disturbing sequence. Honestly, this was one of my favourite scenes, delivering a huge sadness, showing those who felt rejected by humanity. Iris finds an upstairs bedroom where a couple graffiti a farewell message on the wall, who chose to hang themselves, and they want to be remembered, but also want to escape the ugly world. How bad could things really be to influence something like this? That is left open for future exploration. Feeling abandoned, I love the scenes of exposition where Iris is reflecting on her past and her relationship with Uncle Ryan. There's hope these characters will eventually reunite, even though her choice to stay behind was her own. And Iris does meet the mother character again from earlier in the story, whose name is June, and is voiced by a familiar Final Space actress, Claudia Black, who played Gary's mother Cheryl. Her voice is very recognizable, but I really liked how unexpectedly different this character portrayal was. And in this scene, Iris is given purpose once more, where Bowie reveals a message that he downloaded from Uncle Ryan. She's told to go back to the location where the spaceships took off from the planet 2 years ago, giving her hope, but June doesn't want to follow along, sadly. And I really enjoyed the chemistry between both characters, which could have been a fun dynamic to further explore. If all is lost, why wouldn't you just risk a dangerous mission traveling to a familiar location? Turning the intensity up to 11, Iris and Bowie fight the elements in their car, only for the weather to win, literally flipping the car over during a sandstorm. Luckily, nobody is hurt apart from some slight damage to Bowie, but he appears fine. And the pair don't give up, leading them back to the spaceport, and this is where the pilot becomes fascinating. Especially for those of us who love Final Space. A ship drops to Earth, allowing Iris to board, where there's a not-so-subtle reference placed on the floor, a cookie.
You?
Yes, Gary?
Can I have a cookie?
No, Gary.
And following these crumbs, it's revealed the ship is piloted by a somewhat familiar Ventrexian. This cat-like being refers to himself as Kingslayer, but let's be brutally honest, it's just a much older interpretation of Avocato. And obviously Avocato himself can't be used in another project under the same name because Warner owns the Final Space IP and all of its assets, but Olan Rogers revealed on Twitter he was in long talks with his attorneys looking at ways he could pull this off. How do you utilize characters you technically made but cannot actually use? Well, you just hired the same voice actor, Coty Galloway is back, and you can just change up the visuals, rename the character, and hope your fans realize what you're doing. And if that wasn't enough, Tom Kenny is back, reprising a very similar role to Hugh, but is credited as The Computer. Again, we can't have Hugh, who is licensed by Warner, but Tom Kenny can be hired to perform the same voice, and the fans can make the connection themselves. This is a genius method of rekindling people's love for Final Space and almost making more of that familiar show without actually making more of the original show. Wrapping up on a big reveal, Kingslayer reveals that he knows Iris's parents, only to play a voice recording from her father. Now, there's no confirmation of this to my knowledge, but surely this has got to be Gary Goodspeed himself. There's just no way this isn't him. There's no visual representation, just the voice, which is Olan's voiceover, but this level of referencing Final Space was something I just did not expect at all. Iris must be the daughter of Gary and Quinn, and hopefully if all does go to plan, she'll meet them, or a version of them, someday. And it just feels like Olan is dancing with the devil, almost plagiarizing his own work, which is far from true, but the beauty in this is that Warner cannot do a thing about it. That middle finger energy is coming back, and I really do hope the executives who destroyed Final Space are taking notice of what is going on. For better or worse, the fans have the power, and this independent animation illustrates exactly that. And I love the open ending, handing Iris a universe of possibility, making connections both familiar and unfamiliar to her and the audience. Obviously, if people want to see more of this, the Kickstarter will need to be just as successful, but this appears to already speak for itself. I am truly amazed at what fan demand is capable of doing, and this project has made one hell of a statement. Hopefully, as Olan himself has stated, a streamer or an investor will come along and order a complete run of episodes of Godspeed. Otherwise, we'll be waiting a while for the next installment, but from what we have already seen, it's definitely going to be worthwhile, and I look forward to seeing what's next for both Godspeed and Final Space. But that's going to do it for this brief review sharing my thoughts on the Godspeed pilot. Let me know how you felt about it in the comments. As always, I love hearing your thoughts and opinions. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave me a like down below, and for more content, be sure to subscribe.
Are you threatening me?